The beautiful city of Tallinn in Estonia is one of the Baltic's great surprises. Proud of being one of Northern Europe's best preserved medieval towns, this city capital is the heart and soul of Estonia and the custodian of a long noble history. It was a windy morning of August 3, 2004 when Grand Princess finally safely docked alongside Tallinn's old city harbor, approximately 1.5 miles from the town center. We proceeded for an orderly disembarkation for the day's tour. And like in the other ports that we've been to, the staffs tried to encourage disembarking passengers for the dockside photo ops. A local mascot happily welcomed and wished everyone to have a great time exploring the medieval town of Tallinn. Cruise photographers were also strategically positioned at the other end of the dock, which provided a nice background of the ship and the company of a couple of local girls wearing the traditional costumes.
So, welcome everybody to Tallinn. You have chosen the walking tour, and I'm going to be your tour guide today for number 6s, and my name is Eric, and we also have another tour guide today with us, and her name is Triin, and she's going to be the tour guide for number 5s. Estonia is the northernmost of the Baltic states and the smallest, about the size of Switzerland. The population of Estonia is approximately 1.4 million.
On the motor coach, our first guide bombarded us with the Tallinn's historical and geographical information. And as we got closer to the town, the second guide provided the narration, and we started paying attention to the views and surroundings while driving around the streets of Tallinn.
Now on your left-hand side, you can see a yellow building. This is our national opera and ballet theatre. It's called Estonia. And also the next limestone building is also a theatre. This is called the Estonian Drama Theatre. And I can say that
when we got off, we were split into 2 groups, and I fell into Eric's group.
So, in 13th century, Tallinn's limestone plateau was divided into 2. The small fortress and the big fortress.
We started with learning about the Toompea castle. The history of Toompea is closely linked to the history of the rulers and power in Estonia. Today, Toompea is the center of the government and the parliament of the Republic of Estonia. This tower is called Tall Herman. The flag at the top of the tower of this medieval fortress is one of the symbols of the government in force.
And it was built by mostly Danes, because Danes had conquered Estonia in the 13th century.
Eric explained more about this tower before moving on and walking around to the other side for a view of the classic-style Estonian government administration building, which in 1700s was ordered to be constructed by the Russian Empress Catherine the Great. Across the street from the old town's parliament building is the Russian Orthodox Alexander Nevsky Cathedral, Tallinn's largest and grandest Orthodox cupola cathedral. It was built in the late 19th century to a design in a typical Russian revival style during the period when the country was part of the Russian Empire. It was restored when Estonia regained independence from the Soviet Union in 1991. Our walking tour continues through the cobblestone streets of Tallinn. We briefly made a stop for a few minutes by the ballet and drama schoolhouses.
Father of Estonian theatre. So these 2 buildings are schoolhouses. This building is the ballet school of Tallinn, and this building is the drama school of Tallinn. The drama school is really popular in Estonia, and it is really difficult to get in, and only 12 people are accepted.
Eric patiently tried to keep us together and direct our attention among the historical buildings around us.
This is the Dome Church, or in Estonia this is called Toompea. So this is the oldest church on mainland Estonia, and it was built in 1219, and this is
next stop is the Cathedral of St. Mary the Virgin, also known as the Dome Church. Originally a Roman Catholic church, it now belongs to the Estonian Evangelical Lutheran Church. The dome church exterior dates from the 15th century, and the spire dates from the 18th century. We quietly walk into the church.
You can see these tombstones here, and there was a custom to bury people under the church in medieval times.
There were people buried on the ground of this church. Most of the church's furnishings goes back to the 17th and 18th centuries. And hanging on the walls were numerous coats of arms.
So most of these spires are spires of churches. So this is the spire of St. Olaf's Church, and it's 125 meters high. And
Then we ended up in the area overlooking the old town of Tallinn, the old Estonian architecture, and the important symbols of the town. Eric pointed some of the spires, including the town halls. Most of the spires are churches like the St. Olaf's Church, believed to have been built in the 12th century, with dedication relating to the former King Olaf II of Norway.
That's nice.
Yeah, exactly. Well, see you guys later.
Also nearby is a souvenir shop, which was a bit crowded when I walked in. We were given a few minutes of shopping time, but most of us just looked and browsed around and admired the famous and pricey Estonian amber jewelries.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
The old town of Tallinn is surrounded by defensive walls, which now form the borders of the old town, and divides the lower town and the upper town.
So this is from the 13th century, and there are places for arches, and this was built 100 years later, and there are already these places for guns.
Cannons?
Yeah, cannons. And
They have names for some of the towers, including the Virgin Tower, Fat Margaret, and Kicking the Cock.
no, it's the old places.
Interestingly, Eric pointed the most expensive public toilet in Estonia, with the government spending millions of kronas to get it built. It is made of black marble and was built a few years after Estonia gained independence from the Soviet Union.
The Estonians and the Danes have a really special relationship, since this is the place where the Danes got their flag, the Dannebrog, from. The Dannebrog is assumably the oldest national flag in the world.
The tour's next show and tell is the Danish King's Gardens. It is a nice and quiet spot in the old town, and believed to have been the actual spot where Denmark's national flag originated. According to the legend, the flag floated down from the heavens during the Danes' battle to conquer Toompea Hill in 1219.
Very good between them, so they had to protect the upper town from the lower town and the lower town from the upper town. So yeah, and there are these building behind me. It's called St. Nicholas Church. And
our next stop is the St. Nicholas Church. St. Nicholas Church is a medieval former church in Tallinn, Estonia. Originally built in the 13th century, it was dedicated to St. Nicholas, the patron of the fishermen and sailors. It was partially destroyed in the Second World War, but it has since been restored, and today houses a branch of the Art Museum of Estonia, focusing mainly on ecclesiastical art from the Middle Ages onward. This former church is also used as a concert hall.
and it had to be rebuilt.
Then we passed by one of the old town's oldest public wheel wells, where lower cities got their water supply from.
And they believed that a water spirit lived in here, so they threw cats in the well. and they wondered why the water tastes so funny. So yeah, I guess the Estonians really weren't that smart, or Tallinners.
Some walks are longer, and thus gave us time to admire and take a few photos of the cobblestone streets and surrounding buildings.
St. Catherine's Monastery was built in 1230, and that makes it the oldest monastery in downtown Tallinn. And
next stop is the St. Catherine Monastery, one of the best kept secrets of Tallinn and found in the very center of the city. It is the medieval Dominican monastery which reveals a fascinating dimension of the city's history. This most ancient Catholic monastery of the old town was founded in 1246. The monastery remained active until 1525, when the coming of the Protestant Reformation forced its closure and the monks were sent in exile. Today, only some sections of the walls and a portion of the southern tower remains. Inside the complex are still parts of the cloisters, medieval stone carvings, and the courtyard. We're here to listen to a concert. The concert program included some instrumentals, folk dance segment, and then vocals. Next stop is at one of Tallinn's oldest churches, the Holy Ghost Church, and the only sacred building that preserved its original form. On the facade, there is a painted clock, which is considered to be the oldest timekeeper in Estonia. The church played a key role in Estonia's history and was built in the most lively spot of the town. Across the street is the building of the Great Guild, which was an organization of small institutions to promote the interests of Tallinn's rich merchants. This building was built between 1404 and 1410. Most of the members led the town's life because they were members of the city council.
Quite narrow building, but it's really long, 67.7 meters long. And that is because you had to pay taxes according to the size of the front of the building.
The lower town is full of life and bustle, especially near the Gothic town hall. This lovely town hall square was the main outdoor market square in the Middle Ages, and as a public square, was also once a place for punishment and entertainment business. Eric described the buildings around the square.
That building there is a town hall building. It is unique because it is the only northern Gothic town hall which has been preserved so well. It was built in 1404.
And a little of the Estonian cuisine, before it was time to let us know that we had some free time.
We don't have many national dishes. The biggest speciality probably is blood sausages or blood pudding. How do you say? Pudding. So these are made from blood and they are wrapped into pig's intestine. So it is really, really common for Estonians to eat these foods. Yeah, so we'll meet here.
Here?
Yeah, here.
Okay.
This day was a busy day in town, with plenty of tourists looking for bargain things to buy. There really wasn't anything that caught my interest, but I looked around a bit for the free time that Eric gave us. While I and some of us mostly took our time taking pictures and videos of the surroundings, others checked out some postcards, or just walked around to see the local merchandise, or tried on some nice hats at the square. Some young locals stood by waiting to engage visitors into browsing or conversation with them. In one section was an enterprising couple running a small business of roasting and selling sweet almonds and offering for a taste or buy a coneful for a couple of dollars.
And this is what?
This is a sweet almonds. We are making sweet almonds. There's 16 different spices and 4 different sugars, and we mix them with almonds and then some cream, and then we have this kind of a just a delicious thing, I think. You can taste before you buy, because we have in Estonia we have a saying.
With our free time over, it was time to walk back to meet our motorcoach.
A totally new complex, and this new complex was built about a year ago. And this is the biggest.
When everyone was accounted for, we headed back to the port, bringing back with us the memories of visiting one of Europe's best medieval towns of Tallinn, Estonia.
Okay, now you can see your ship, and I would like to thank you for this beautiful weather, for bringing us the sun. Really thank you. Also, thanks to our other guide. By the way, who did this tour for the first time.
Eric!
It was his first time. And you are always welcome back. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.